Hello guys and welcome to this brand new video on Xamarin Forms, and today we'll be discussing about the different layouts that we can use in Xamarin Forms. Starting with stack layout, we'll move on to grids, and we'll see we'll learn about some of the pages too. So let's get started here, right? Last time what we did was we played around with hello world and label. So label basically was a text, was a place where you could enter some text and you could change and it would display the text. So simple things are going on here. So let's put another something called a button, right? It's simple. We want a button, we want to click it. So a common way to use that we do in programming is we give name to something, and to give name to something, what you have to do is x name, and you call is click me button. Okay, click me button, btn being short form from button, so that I can recognize it. So text, it has a property called text, and we'll set it to click me, and then we can just close the tag. And if we want, we can also write something like padding, right? So what is padding? Padding is like padding has it can take four values. So let's say 10 10 10 10. What it does is these all tens are aligned. It leaves a padding of 10 pixels on each side of the button. So inside the button there will be 10 pixels from the text. So we can see that how it goes here in after we debug this project. So let's debug this project by clicking the right arrow up there, and then let's wait for it to build, and it's built. Let's wait for simulator to start. Okay, this should only take some time. And it has Xamarin has something similar. Well, that loads. I'll tell you something about the padding and margin. There is something called margin, and this is padding. So what margin does is margin leaves space outside the button, and padding leaves space inside the button, inside being inside the border of the button, and margin leaves space outside the border of the button. If we just go to the simulator, like you can see this hello world and click me, it has. So we cannot see the button, the background clearly in iOS because of its settings. So to add some border color, let's end the debugging here. So let's add some border color to it, and let's say we are going with black. Okay, I cannot type black. Okay, black. And let's set the text color to what? Blue. Okay, something black, blue, green, red. What do you prefer? Okay, let's say red. And then if we start debugging, what you can see here is installing the app that we are going to debug, that is hello world app. So it opens now, and what you can see here, it has a click me button, but it does not have a border color. So let's say border width equals to, let's say 5 pixels. 10 is far too much. So let's debug now. And if we this is a bit of hectic if you come from a React Native background. Well, what happens in React Native is you can just refresh the simulator, but this is not quite possible here. So you can see it has a black border around click me, but the thing is it is tagged all the way at the bottom. So and the iOS, this border has just crushed the button here. We can change this later on. There's no matter. So to fix that, what we can do is we can use margin. We can use margin of, like, let's say now we'll use a different kind of thickness, or let's say margin. We can also do 10 10 10 10 here, but instead of writing same all four values, like what we can do is just put a value 10. So what it does is it gives a value of padding 10 across the surface. But if we want to do something like 10 pixels on left and 40 pixels on top and bottom, so we can do that too. So we can give values in this way. So this is for left, right, and this is for top down. So we can also do a single 10. That means that the padding is left inside the button, but the padding is padding affects all four sides. So if you go here, so you can see that this is the 10 margin, as you can see. So this is the 20, not 20, this is the 40 margin on the bottom and on the top. So if there was something on the top, you'd see that it leaves 40 space padding here, and sorry, margin here, and the padding is inside the click me button. So we can see about the padding as we move on. So let's stop the debugging here. And this is a simple button, right? But the thing about buttons is it has to be clickable. So let's add a click event, right? We can add click event like clicked and handle click. So what it does is it takes you to a new file. Like I'm just hitting tab to enter IntelliSense using the IntelliSense from Visual Studio, and then it asks me where I want to put this method that I'm going to create using the IntelliSense. So let's just put the event at the bottom, and it says handle click. You can change the name of this handle click, like say I can say click me underscore click, right? And I can just copy this, because I'm doing this because it will be easier for you to manage. If you have like 10 buttons and all are named like handle click 1, handle click 2, then it will be a mess, right? So you can just copy and replace this here. So if we just leave it like this, while we click the button, it will throw us an exception. So just replace the code here, and we can write is, now what we want to do is we want to change the text of this button, and let's say x name equals to hello label, right? So and change hello label dot text, right? So we can access the properties of this XML page from the CS page. So it has the same name, main page.xml.cs, main page.xml. It has the same name. So I can access everything that is named here like hello label and a click me button from this page called main page.xml.cs. So if you see inside the solution explorer in Windows, the solution explorer is typical in the left side, on the left side, on the right side, sorry. So in the Mac OS it is on the right side. So what we can do is inside the hello world project, not inside Android and iOS, inside the hello world project, what you can see is there's something called main page. So inside the main page there is another file called main page.xml.cs. So what it's saying is main page.xml is a parent to main page.xml.cs. So from inside the child page we can call everything that is inside the parent page, and similarly inside the parent page we can call everything that is inside the child page. Like this click me underscore click event is is triggered from the main page.xml, but it is written inside the XCS code, right? So text label text equals to I was clicked, right? Something like that. So right, so if we just start debugging here, what you can see here is after it debugs, so right, so if it click text click me, it will just change the text to I was clicked. And this is a simple way to implement buttons, learn about buttons and text, right? So what I want to do is now I want to tell you about something called stack layout. So as we see, the stack layout was present all the time during this tutorial. So what it does is if we remove the stack layout, like let's say like this, right? And if I remove the stack layout and if I try to debug it, it should give me an error. It will give me an error, right? It's building now, but I think it should give me an error. No, so it didn't give me an error, but what you did say is the label was overridden by the button. So what a stack layout does here is inside the stack layout orients all your items in a specified way, right? It's just Okay, so what it does is mm, it creates, it divides your items by rows. So we can stack layout as something, a property called orientation. So if we can change the orientation to vertical or horizontal. If we change the orientation to vertical, what it does is it orients items uh, in a row format, right? So each item is a row to the stack layout. And inside, if we change it to horizontal, what we can say is each item is a column to the stack layout, right? If we start debugging here, and we can see here, what we see here is inside the similar, like, so what it has done here is, since I changed the orientation to horizontal, you can see that hello world and click me buttons are placed now in a column format. But before this, it was placed in a row format, right? So it's that is basically the stack layout. So it orients items inside it in a horizontal or vertical fashion, right? So there's other layout, something called a grid layout, a grid, right? So let's just comment it out. And inside grid, so what is grid? Grid is basically an empty sheet of paper. You can put anything on it, and it just it can be anywhere, right? You can position these items anywhere, right? But it is not the same with stack layout, because stack layout functions in a specified way. But inside the grid layout, if we put everything, if we copy the same thing and put it inside the grid layout and just hit play, what it does is it should overlap these two elements, right? Hello world and click me button will be overlapped. Let's see, right here, as you can see, hello world and this button has been overlapped. So what it does is grid layout gives you an empty sheet of paper, and you can throw items anywhere, right? And now to arrange elements, what we can do is we can put something called a vertical sorry, vertical, okay, option. So we can put something like, sorry, height request, we can put it to 30, and width request to 40, and we have something called vertical options here. So so I was trying to find this, and it was not giving me some time before. So horizontal options here is center, and vertical options here is also center. So center and expand. So let's change the center to, let's say, start, right? And vertical options to start as well. So let's say horizontal options to center and vertical options to start. And for this, we'll say height request equals to 50, and width request equals to 70. And then what we'll say is horizontal options equals to center, and vertical options equals to end. Okay, so what we can see here is the label will be at the center of the page horizontally, but vertically it will be at the start of the page. And the button will be at the center of the page horizontally, but vertically it will be at the end of the page. So if we open the simulator, as you can see here, click me is on the center of the page, but since there's a notch here, you cannot see the horizontal page, right? Horizontal, you cannot see the horizontal options, the vertical options at the start and the hello label, right? So, and if you see here, since the width of the button does not fit the text inside the button, so the text has just been truncated, and it is just showing CLI ... right? So all the things in the middle were omitted. So what we can do to remove the dependency from the notch, or let's say the hassle of the notch, is, since Xamarin has not done itself till now, so we can add margin, and we can add margin like 0 comma. So not only the notch, if you see in the simulator, what also is there is this small bar, right? So what iOS did is it replaced the home buttons and everything with this bar. So I think it's a clever way to design, but for us developers I think it has developed a tricky part to implement this. So what I am doing here is inside the grid I am defining a margin of 0 on the left and right, and I am giving margin like 30 to the top and bottom, right? And I think it should do the trick. So since we have put margin on there, we can just remove the margin to 0 in the click me button, and we can also write width request to something like 180, right? So if we wait for this to debug, now we'll see that this should be implemented. And yeah, yeah, the click me is here, hello is here, but for some reason, so the reason is again the text has been truncated here, but the text being truncated in button and the text being truncated in level is not handled in a similar way by Xamarin. So you can see it just displays hello here, the world is not displayed, and if you just click me, and here is I was and something something. So you can change this thing to 182, and this will just do the trick for us. So the grid, if you see this way, is not very useful, right? You can orient elements in a certain way, but it just gives you a sheet of paper. You can do anything with it, but a sheet of paper sometimes can be a vague thing. It is hard to orient items in it. So what we can do is we can just add a grid dot. So what we can do is we can divide grid, a sheet of paper, into rows and columns into a tabular format. So let's say grid dot row definitions, right? And we can add what grid dot column not column spacing, column column definitions, right? So in row definition, what we can put here is we can put so each row has a height property, right? So each row of height can be represented like this, right? Sorry, this fashion. Okay, so I'm just defining 4 rows and let's say 4 columns, right? Column definition width equals to 1 asterisk. Okay, so it has 4 rows and has 4 columns. So what is the thing with 1 asterisk and 1 asterisk we are placing here, right? So what it does is each the grid is divided into 1, 2, 3, and 4 different rows, and the column is divided and the grid is divided into 4 different columns again. So if I change the 1 asterisk to 2, so now what it does is it is divided into 5 columns here, because 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 5, and then it is divided into 5 parts, and the first column row takes 1/5 part, and the another take 1/5, and the third row takes 2/5, and the last row takes 1/5, right? So it is divided unevenly. If you want to make something that has not equal proportions, because we see a lot of things there, right? For example, you want to put a big image in the first row and some smaller text in the second row, you can do that using this kind of things. But what you can also do is you can define it in terms of pixels. So this 200 pixel is a fixed width. So the first it will be divided into 3 rows, but into 4 rows basically, and the third row will always take 200 value on the width. So let's add some more items to it, because we cannot just orient grids in this way. So let's add something to it, right? Like let's add a box view. So what is a box view? Box view, as the name suggests, is a simple box, and what it does is you can put some color in it. So let's put background color, right? Background color equals to red. I think I'm obsessed with red at the moment. I don't know, I've already put red in 2 times. So what you can do to put red, if you do not put anything, like if you leave it like this, let's say copy this thing here, and red, blue, let's say black, no, black, okay, green, and let's say gray, why not, and let's leave it as white. So if we do this and deploy it, as you can see here, if we deploy it like this, okay, now it gives me an error. So I deleted something called hello label, and the main page.cs, xaml.cs shows me that there is nothing called hello label.cs. So as I said earlier, there are these two files are connected to each other, so you have to just delete this part. And now if you play, if you hit play, if you debug anything you want to say, if you want to hit debug, you can just go to the simulator, and what it does is it opens the file, and as you can see, there's nothing in there, right? So there's nothing. So what happened here is the box view, on the white box view, took over everything. Let's change the white to, I don't know, fuchsia, pink, okay. So I think it should get debugged, right, as you can see here. So what it does is it took the first row and it took the first column of the grid, right? So the fuchsia is overlapping all these blue, red, black, green, and gray colors. So what we can do here is we can just stop the debugging here, and we can do is grid.column, right? Grid.row equals to 0 and grid.column equals to 0. So what it does is, so arrays start at 0, right? It is universal rule, so for programming at least. So arrays start at 0, and this is the array of row, and this is the array of column, right? So grid.row equals to 0, so it occupies the first row, it occupies the second, it occupies the first column. So I can also copy this. I cannot copy this, I can copy this, right? So let's paste it everywhere we can. So I over copied something. I think it's fast to just one, not say 1, 2, grid.row equals to also 2, grid.row equals to here 1, and grid.column equals to 1. So we want this to follow like a pattern of checkers, right? Checkbox like pattern, right? So it occupies the first row and the first column, then the second row and the second column, and third row and the third column, and grid column equals to 3, and grid dot row equals to also 3. Now there are only 4 rows and 4 columns that we defined, so there's no way for fuchsia and gray to go there. So we can arrange this in the first row, and grid.column equals to first row and the second column, right? Because it's a table, it's basically a table. Grid.row equals to 0 and grid.column equals to 2. So I can add some more to it. So grid.row equals to 0 and grid.column equals to 3, grid.row equals to 1 and grid.column equals to 1. Okay, 1 is already there, 1 2, right? And we can add something like this, and we can also add a grid column to 2. I don't know what I'm doing here, really. I lost everything, almost everything, not everything, like 2 again there is there, because this is unplanned and I'm just doing it randomly. So let's change something to I'm lost of colors, like lime and maroon and something like, I don't know. So this me some colors, man. Black's already there. Blue, what are the colors? Silver, okay, silver. Okay, now if we see here, I think we should see something of a color palette here displayed inside the application, and it is all arranged in rows and columns. This might look some hectic to you. So as you can see here, red is positioned at 0 and 0. So red is positioned at 0 and 0. So the blue is positioned at 1 and 1. Green is positioned at 3 and 3. Black is positioned at 2 and 2, right? 1 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, right? So 4 columns and 4 rows. So 0 0 1 1 2 2 and 3 3. So this is the basic math that you run in high school, in your school, sorry. So here the color gray is 0 comma 1, so 0 comma 1, right? So consider this as 0 comma 0 in your graph, and consider this as 4 comma 4, right? Not 4 comma 4, 3 comma 3, right? So this is the last position on your graph. So this is basically how items are arranged in a grid and in stack layout. So if you see the difference, if you had to do the same thing using stack layouts, it would be a lot of hectic tasks, right? You have to add stack layout inside stack layouts, and each stack layout would have 2 or 3 different elements, and it would be a complete mess, right? And yeah, and using more layouts means you are giving something more for your CPU to render, for your mobile processor to render, and hence it is harder for the application to be rendered, right? Thank you guys for watching this, and I think you learned something from this. If you learned something, leave a thumbs up. Also subscribe to my channel. If you like the video, leave a thumbs up. And yeah, thank you guys for watching this. Follow my other tutorials. I'm posting them regularly now, so thank you.